Hello again and welcome everyone. I'm Nuri from the Massachusetts Health Connector. I'm joined by my colleagues Dalia and Melissa, who will be presenting today's information. I'm also joined by Nikki from the Health Connector. And together we are here today to share information about our annual coverage renewal process and what you need to do for plan year 2027. We'd like to take a moment to thank our community partner organizations and elected officials across the state for their support in promoting this webinar, including our partners in the state legislature and our congressional delegation. Before we get started, we have some information about our presentation format. First, everyone's audio has been muted and video has been turned off. The presentation portion will last approximately 30 minutes, then we'll have time for a question and answer period. If you would like to ask a question at any time, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. We ask that you please do not share any personal information or private health information when you ask your question, as others on the call are able to see what you write. If you have a personal scenario that you want to discuss with someone, we'll be providing contact information for the Health Connector's Customer Service Center and instructions on how to find help from a local assister. We are recording today's webinar, and following the session, you'll receive an email with the presentation, so there's no need to take detailed notes. Lastly, at the end of the webinar, we kindly ask that you stay on to complete a short survey that will help inform our future sessions. So let's get started. I'll pass it over to my colleague, Dalia.
Thank you, Nuri. Okay, so welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today. So during today's webinar, our team will walk through the annual coverage renewal process and explain what to expect as you all prepare for 2027 coverage. Each year, the Health Connector reviews member information before renewing coverage. This helps us to make sure that eligibility decisions are based on the most current information available and that members receive the financial help and health coverage that they qualify for. Today's webinar is geared towards current current Health Connector members, and through today's presentation, our goal is to make this process easier to understand and help you feel more confident about the next steps. So here's a quick overview of today's agenda. We'll start with a brief introduction to the Health Connector and Health Connector coverage options available through us. This will just provide some context before we discuss the renewal process. Next, we'll review the different types of letters, emails, and notices that members will receive through the renewal period. We'll explain why you're receiving these communications and what they mean for your coverage. And after that, we'll walk through the online application. We'll show you where to find important information, how to update your application, and where to report changes that could affect your eligibility or financial assistance. And then finally, we'll wrap up sharing resources available to help you, including where to go if you have questions after today's webinar. So let's start with a quick look at the health coverage options available through the Health Connector. The Health Connector is the state's health insurance marketplace for individuals, families, and small businesses. And we provide access to health insurance for those who don't have health insurance from another source. Those who shop for coverage with the Health Connector are usually those who are not offered health insurance through their job, their partner's job. If you're over the age of 26 and have aged out of your parents' plan, maybe you're just in between jobs and need health coverage, or if you are self-employed. These are all reasons that individuals shop for coverage through the Health Connector. The Health Connector provides not only health insurance plans from all the leading carriers across the state, but we also have standalone dental plans available to purchase separately. The Health Connector does not currently offer standalone vision plans, but some of the health insurance plans include limited vision benefits. If you are interested in learning more about these limited vision benefits, members should reach out to carriers directly to see what exactly is covered in their plan. And in addition to the individual and family side of the Health Connector, we also have the Health Connector for Business platform, where small employers can shop for both health and dental coverage for their employees. This side of the Health Connector is best suited for small business owners with 50 or less employees if they are offering coverage to an employee that is not directly related to them. So today's presentation will not cover any details on Health Connector for Business, but if you are interested, we have a separate webinar for this topic. Please let us know if you're interested in that webinar and we can send over the link to you. Okay. So when shopping through the Health Connector, you can be assured that all plans meet state and federal standards of coverage, meaning that all essential care needs will be covered in your plan. For example, visits to the emergency room and preventative care visits. Because the Health Connector is the state's marketplace, we have benefits and programs that can help to reduce your monthly premiums that can only be found here. One benefit available through the Health Connector is our Connector Care plans with advanced premium tax credits. This program is unique to Massachusetts marketplace and is based on an individual or family's income level. These plans use state and federal dollars to help lower the cost of your monthly premium. Those eligible for a Connector Care plan may qualify for low or no cost health insurance plans. The Health Connector also offers standalone dental plans for individuals, children, families, and small employers, as I mentioned in the previous slide. So if you get health insurance from another source and are just interested in purchasing a dental plan, you can now purchase these plans online. We have pediatric only plans and plans with lower and higher deductibles. So when you shop for coverage through the Health Connector, you'll be able to shop and compare plans from all the leading health insurance companies in Massachusetts. All the carriers on this slide offer plans through the Health Connector, and all insurance companies who participate in the Health Connector also offer plans in our Connector Care program, which just means more health plan options for Massachusetts residents. In this slide, you'll also see the dental carriers that offer plans through the Health Connector. So we often get questions about why someone might choose to shop for coverage through the Health Connector instead of going directly through a carrier. The simple answer here is flexibility. If there are any significant changes in your life that require you to change coverage, the Health Connector takes those changes into account and can provide coverage options that better fit your situation. So when you shop directly through a carrier, you're essentially locking into the plan you choose, regardless of changes you may experience financially, or changes in network coverage throughout the year. So, as some of you may know, the Health Connector has specific enrollment periods known as open enrollment. Open enrollment is the time of year when individuals can apply for new coverage for the upcoming year, renew their current coverage, or shop for a new plan. The preliminary eligibility period helps us prepare for the upcoming open enrollment period. It's important to note that open enrollment this year will run from October 23rd to January 23rd. During this time frame, individuals will have the opportunity to review available health plans for coverage that will begin on January 1st, 2027. Each year, the annual renewal process will begin by reviewing the current information we have on our current Health Connector members. Newly applying members will not receive these specific communications. So the first step in the renewal process is the preliminary eligibility notice. In the next few slides, we'll review how the Health Connector reviews eligibility, the timeline between preliminary eligibility and open enrollment, and provide examples of notices and mailers that you may receive during this period. So if you are currently a Health Connector member, we will use the information you provided in your application and compare it against trusted federal and state resources. This will help ensure that you qualify for the Health Connector and make sure that you receive the right financial help if applicable. The Health Connector will review your household income, your tax information, your immigration status if applicable, and whether members have other health insurance coverage like Mass Health or Medicare. So all these elements will help us determine your eligibility. So now we'll get into the letters and materials that you may receive. So as I previously shared, the renewal process will begin with the preliminary eligibility letter. Current members will begin to receive those notices from late August into September. In this letter, you will be prompted to review the current details for your application and make any necessary changes if you notice any discrepancies in the information that we have for you. If so, the member can log into their application and make changes to their 2026 or to their 2027 application for the following year. The following information will be included in this notice. All household members who are on your application will be listed on the notice, your current Health Connector eligibility, as well as your expected eligibility for 2027, your current income level shown as FPL, and your expected income level for 2027. And lastly, there will be instructions on how to make changes to your application for 2027 if you are aware of anything that may affect your eligibility. So on the side, you'll see a sample letter of the preliminary eligibility notice so that you know what to look for in the mail. You'll notice here that these notices have a 2026 date, but the notices for 2027 will look very similar. So if you are currently enrolled in a plan with the Health Connector, you're probably wondering what that means for your current coverage in 2026. If nothing has changed for you in this calendar year, you don't have to do anything right now. You will remain in your current plan through December 31st of 2026, as long as you continue to pay your monthly premium. And if you choose to enroll in a new plan for next year, the new plan will start on January 1st, 2027. So please pay close attention to these notices as Connector Care Program eligibility rules have changed. Your preliminary eligibility notice will also include your member ID and your username, which may be important to have on hand if you need to contact customer service for any reason. So as I mentioned in the previous slide, eligibility for the Health Connector has changed, making it especially important to pay attention to these notices. Under the new federal law, only certain immigration statuses will remain eligible to receive advanced premium tax credits. The Health Connector's Connector Care program relies on federal tax credits to help lower the cost of monthly premiums. Therefore, if you are no longer eligible for those tax credits, you will no longer be eligible for a Connector Care plan with the Health Connector. So beginning on January 1st, 2027, only the following immigration statuses will be eligible for a Connector Care plan. Lawfully present residents or green card holders, Cuban and Haitian entrants, and then the Compact Free Association or COFA migrants. Members with these immigration statuses will continue to be eligible for Connector Care if they otherwise meet the other program's eligibility requirements. If there has been a change to your immigration status, we encourage you to update your application to reflect on these changes so that you may remain covered. It's important to note that these individuals will still be able to purchase health insurance through the Health Connector. However, they will no longer receive federal financial assistance to help lower the cost of their monthly premiums. So those whose eligibility has changed due to their immigration status might receive a notice that looks more like the ones on this slide. Under their expected 2027 program eligibility, they may see something like Health Connector Plan, no financial help, or you appear to no longer be eligible for coverage through the Health Connector. To maintain our members' privacy, we do not include the reason for the eligibility changes, so please be sure to review your notice carefully, update your application if your immigration status has changed, and if you have further questions about your eligibility determination, please contact customer service. And in addition to these preliminary eligibility notices, members will also receive other mailers and communications from us. These mailers are to help remind you of enrollment deadlines, keep you aware of plan changes, and guide you to the appropriate resources. Okay, so now I'll pass it over to Melissa to go over the online application.
Thank you so much, Thalia. And hello, everyone. Give me one quick second here. Okay, so now let's talk about the application itself. So, whether you're already a Health Connector member or applying for coverage for the first time, you will use the same application to find out what health coverage and financial assistance you may qualify for. You can access the application through the Massachusetts Health Connector website. The application is also available in Spanish and Portuguese through the Health Connector's language-specific websites. One important thing to know is that there is one application that is used to determine eligibility for Health Connector coverage, help paying for coverage, and Mass Health. So when you complete the application, you're providing the information that is needed to determine which programs and coverage options you may qualify for. If you already have an account, you can sign in and update your existing application rather than starting over. The important thing is to make sure that the information on your application is accurate and reflects your current household situation. Once you have an application, it's important to keep that information up to date throughout the year. Your income or household situation can change for many reasons. For example, you may start a new job, lose a job, have your hours change, or have another change in your household. When something changes, make sure you update your application as soon as possible. Keeping your information current helps make sure you're getting the appropriate amount of help paying for your health insurance. This is especially important if you receive an advanced premium tax credit or APTC. For the preliminary eligibility, what does it mean and what you need to do for plan year 2027? So if the income on your application is different from what you actually earn during the year, the amount of APTC you qualify for may also change. Keeping your application updated can help reduce the chance of having to pay money back to the IRS when you file your federal taxes. And remember, if you qualify for APTC, you don't have to take the full amount you're offered. You can choose to take a smaller amount of the tax credit each month. You can make that adjustment throughout the Change Tax Credit link on Find a Health Plan page of your application. Finally, if the Health Connector asks you to provide documents, make sure you submit them within the required 90-day time frame. Providing documents on time can help prevent problems with your eligibility or coverage. There's one additional thing to keep in mind for 2027. If you currently have a 2026 application and you make a change to your information, you should also make sure that change is reflected on your 2027 application when appropriate. For example, if your income, address, household members, or another part of your application changes, don't assume that updating one application will automatically update the other. If the information will be different for 2027, make sure you update your 2027 application with the new information. If the information is going to remain the same for both years, there's an easier option. You can update your 2026 application and then apply those same changes to your 2027 application before you submit it. The main takeaway here is to check both applications and make sure the information is accurate for the coverage year you're applying for. Keeping both your current and upcoming applications up to date is especially important as we move into 2027 as there will be changes to eligibility and financial assistance. Now let's talk about how to report changes in your application. The first step is to sign into your Health Connector account. From the dashboard, select Report Changes. Next, you'll need to choose which application year you want to update. This can be confusing, so here's an easy way to think about it. If the change has already happened or will happen before the end of the calendar year, update your current year's application. If you're reporting a change that won't happen until next year, for example, it's December and you'll start a new job in January, you should update next year's application instead. Once you selected the current application year, click Edit Application. You'll then choose the type of change you need to report, complete the requested information, review your updates, and submit them by selecting Report Changes. Now that we've covered the steps, let's look at where you'll report those changes once you're in your account. This screen shows what you'll see after selecting Edit Application. Instead of updating everything all at once, you'll choose the selection that matches the change you're reporting. Remember, you don't have to update every section, only the information that has changed. So now we're going to look at Renew Your Coverage Next Year's Plan. So far, we've talked about keeping your application up to date. Now we'll switch over to the final steps of the renewal process. In October, members who are currently enrolled in a Health Connector health plan and remain eligible for coverage will receive a final eligibility and renewal notice. This notice is important because it explains what your coverage will look like for the upcoming year. It includes your health plan, your monthly premium, and whether you're eligible for financial help to lower your monthly costs. The notice also lets you know which plan you'll be enrolled in if you decide not to make any changes during open enrollment. Beginning on October 23rd, open enrollment starts. This is the opportunity to review your options and decide whether you like to keep your current plan or choose a different one for next year. If you choose a new plan, or if you're keeping the one recommended in your renewal notice, remember that your first premium payment for January coverage must be made by December 23rd payment deadline listed in your notice. The most important takeaway is this: don't ignore your renewal notice. Take a few minutes to review it carefully so you understand your coverage, your monthly costs, and whether you like to explore other plan options before the new year begins. Throughout this renewal process, the Health Connector renewal page is a great resource to help guide you. Beginning on October 23rd, you can visit mahealthconnector.org/renew to find important renewal information, whether you've already enrolled in a Health Connector plan or if you're applying for the first time. Getting help and resources. So we understand that the process of completing an application and selecting a plan can be confusing. So we'd like to provide you with some additional resources. If you need assistance with the application process, we have resources available to Massachusetts residents free of cost. You can receive help with your application through customer service or one of our community partner organizations. Customer service is the best way to reach us, and that number is 877-623-6765. Information about hours and days of operation can be found on the Health Connector's website by clicking on the link below. There are also local events happening across the state where you might be able to find in-person help. You can visit the upcoming events page on our website to see if there are any events happening near you. In addition to customer service, we also have certified application counselors or CACs and navigators who are available to provide application assistance in their community. Assisters are trained and certified to help with every part of the application process, whether that be updating your application or assisting in uploading any proof that is requested. They can be found at community health centers and hospitals and speak the languages that are most spoken in their communities. I can provide a link to the page where individuals can search for assisters closest to them. Lastly, we have assistance for the over 65 population, which are Shine counselors, and the information for them is on here on this page. And now we will go over questions that you may have.
Thank you, Thalia and Melissa, for presenting the information. We do have a couple questions in the Q&A, so I'm happy to just go down the list. We have someone asking, I guess someone has access to employer-sponsored insurance, and it seems like it has a very high deductible. Is there any words of advice that you can give to this individual? They're wondering if the Health Connector could be an option for them.
Yes, if they feel that their current insurance is not affordable, they can apply to the Health Connector and see if they're eligible.
Thank
And
you.
also, I just want to add to that when you apply through the Health Connector and you're thinking your health insurance is unaffordable, they may ask you to provide information on those employee-sponsored plans.
Awesome. Thank you both. So you guys mentioned open enrollment dates starting in October, but what if an individual needs coverage at this moment? What should they do?
So if an individual needs coverage at this moment, they should go into the application and apply because you don't know if you might be, because we share one application, you might be eligible for Mass Health, and they do not have open or closed enrollment periods. So we just suggest that you go on and apply and see what you are eligible for.
Awesome. Thank you, Thalia. And so I guess that's the general message, right, for any new members who are looking for coverage.
Right. If you need coverage for September 1st, I suggest going on now and completing the application and seeing what your options are.
Thank you. There is someone wondering where they can access information about, sorry. So I guess specific details about different health plans, plan comparisons, let's say, where they can look at the deductibles, what is covered under specific plan. Can we share that resource with the audience?
Yeah. Melissa, do you want to take this one?
Sure, thank you. There's a couple things you can do. We have a tool that is called the Get an Estimate tool. So if you're not quite ready to commit to the entire application, you can go on that tool and just provide very brief information such as the zip code and your annual income and the size of your household. And that tool will give you a brief overview of what exactly you would be responsible to pay. And if you feel that, this is great, you're ready now to move forward with the application, I think the application will give a clearer and more accurate description of your eligibility then.
Thalia, Nick, is there anything else that you guys would add?
I would also add that we also have, I think it's the plan comparison tool where if you have specific doctors that you would like to see or prescriptions that you want to be covered by your plan, you would plug those in there and see if the plans that we provide would cover those specialists, those doctors, or those medications.
Great. Alrighty, moving on to the next question here. Employer coverage ended 30 days ago and the individual joined Cobra. Are they still eligible to join or apply for a Health Connector plan now since it's within 60 days of loss of employer coverage. So I
Um,
guess they lost ESI 30 days ago and are wondering if they are able to apply still for.
and they have enrolled in Cobra.
They joined Cobra to cover the last month.
Okay. So unless So the first answer that I think of is you would not be able to come over to the Health Connector at this moment because you've already selected to go with Cobra. But if you have some type of qualifying life event that would open up a special enrollment period for you, you could come over to the Health Connector. That would include if your employer was providing some financial assistance for Cobra, they might be able to and they stopped contributing to that Cobra plan, you might be eligible to come over to the Health Connector. Or if you have any other special event happening or qualifying life event in your life, like changing addresses, having a baby, getting married, um, the list goes on, you might be able to come over to the Health Connector. But for now, if you don't have any of those things, you would have to stay with your Cobra coverage.
Thank you. Can you guys briefly describe the difference between Mass Health and the Health Connector?
Okay, I will do my best. Nikki, feel free to jump in. Um, so Mass Health is the state's Medicare Medicaid program, and it is meant for the lower income families, but also those with disabilities or pregnant women and children. And the Health Connector is more of a marketplace meant for those who do not meet those Mass Health requirements. Anyone, please feel free to add that in because that is a difficult question to answer shortly. I can also provide a link in the chat for that
So
because we
the
have a page for that.
Yeah, the question specifically was if the individual has to choose Mass Health. I think we could just clarify that the system, according to their eligibility, will determine whether or not they can enroll in a Health Connector plan or if they're eligible for Mass Health.
Gotcha. So, yeah, you would not be able to select if Mass Health or the Health Connector. Once you fill out the application, the system will make that determination based on the information that you entered.
I'm seeing, go ahead,
Oh, I
Nikki.
just want to add one thing because Thalia, you covered this. Nuri, you mentioned this, but I just want to make sure we drive this point home. The Health Connector and Mass Health are separate agencies, separate health coverage plans, but we do share the common application. So, as Thalia said, you complete that application. You don't have to pick, I want Mass Health or I'm looking for Health Connector coverage. You just enter that information completely and the system figures out. So I'm just reinforcing everything that's been said because what you've said is correct.
Thank you, Nikki. Someone is asking if their projected yearly income needs to include the income that they made prior to applying for coverage.
I can answer. So when you are entering your income, you want to make sure that it's for the current year. So currently we're in 2026, so you would actually enter for this current year, 2026. Projected yearly income, I know it's hard to determine, but if you give the most accurate estimated income, then you should be okay. The system will determine at the end of the application if we need verification of your income and will let you know whether or not that needs to be submitted within a 90-day time frame.
Thank you, Melissa. And there are a few individuals asking about future webinars. Um, I think this is specifically more for maybe new members who are interested in diving into the application a bit further. Not sure if you guys are able to talk about our upcoming webinars and where they can access that information.
Yep. So, on that events page that we mentioned earlier, all our upcoming webinars will be posted on there. You can also visit our Eventbrite page where we have a few webinars. It will be similar content to the one we presented today on preliminary eligibility. And then come September, October, we will have a few more webinars focused on open enrollment. But if you're interested in learning about open enrollment and special enrollment periods and all of that, we also have a YouTube channel where we record these sessions and you can just rewatch them.
Thank you, Thalia. And someone is interested in knowing if they can drop Health Connector coverage at any time. Or are they committed to 12 months, 6 months?
There is no commitment. You can drop coverage. I would suggest dropping it before that 23rd deadline and that payment comes out. That would be the only suggestion. I would call customer service and make sure to cancel that plan.
For new applications, can the start date, and I do see that someone raised their hand, just a reminder that we are taking questions through the Q&A. Unfortunately, we are not able to unmute you or respond through a chat. Please use the Q&A feature. For new applications, can the start date be February 2027 since the current plan ends on January 31st, 2027? What's the best time to start the Health Connector application?
So coverage, they want coverage that would start February 1st
February
of 20.
1st, yes.
Um, you would still be able to do that because our open enrollment period runs through January 23rd. And that coverage would start on February 1st. So you would still have time to come in and shop for coverage. Just make sure to select a plan and make that first premium payment by January 23rd for coverage that will start on February 1st.
Nuri, could I address some of the Cobra questions that I was seeing? I feel like it might just be a little bit easier to respond to them verbally versus typing the answer. So there was one question specifically about whether or not we had a session that would specifically talk about Cobra and Health Connector. I just want to be certain that anyone who's here today, whatever your special circumstance might be, you might have lost ESI, you might have just moved to Massachusetts, you might have some other type of qualifying life event. If you're contemplating Cobra, you can certainly complete an online application at mahealthconnector.org. Just indicate what your qualifying life event is. Again, as Thalia described, if you've already chosen Cobra, it gets a little trickier. You would have to, unless you had, again, another qualifying event, such as the employer was contributing towards that Cobra, you would have to wait until open enrollment. Open enrollment lets you drop the Cobra and you could begin Health Connector coverage on January 1st. But yes, absolutely no need to wait. I hope we're trying to be as consistent with our response as possible and hoping that anyone who did come to today's session is able to get the information they need.
Thank you, Nikki. And of course, feel free to jump in anytime if you guys are continuing to see themes along, similar to
Absolutely.
Cobra.
Thank you. Thank you.
There is someone who is interested in knowing how much of an income change requires an update to the application.
I always tell members any type of change, go ahead into the application and make those changes. You want to stay as current as possible. And when you're going into your account, all you have to do is click Edit Income. And in that section, you can make those changes and just make sure it's so important this year to make sure everything's up to date, especially with the changes to the advanced premium tax credit. So please, we encourage you, go ahead and make changes as soon as there are changes.
Right. I agree with Melissa. It's not as though the Health Connector requires you to make a change at a certain threshold. It's just crucial to make it as soon as possible for your own benefit, right? Are the FPL limits, federal poverty level limits, being updated for 2027? I'm assuming plan year 2027 or calendar 2027. Not sure, but Nikki, did you want to take that one?
Sure, I'm happy to take that one. So the Health Connector does update the income guidelines relative to the federal poverty level changes. So those are typically the FPL levels as they're known, typically get adjusted in the March, April timeframe. The Health Connector, because we're looking at projected income, as an example, because we're looking at projected income for um, like right now, where we're in plan year 2026, um, we will not be using, we're not going to be using 2027 FPL guidelines. In fact, we use the previous year's guidelines. I hope that makes sense. And what I'm going to do is just double check one detail and I'll come back. But it does change, the FPL levels change in the spring. Hopefully that helps clarify some of that.
And then just a reminder to folks that we will be sharing this recording as well as additional resources after the webinar. And I am still seeing someone with the raised hand. Just a friendly reminder to please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. We're unable to mute you if you raise your hand. There is a question in the Q&A regarding types of incomes that need to be reported. Maybe Melissa, if you could briefly, at a high level, share the types of income that are reportable.
So the type of income that you should be reporting are taxable income. So when you're in the application, you actually have like a guide. So it will give you categories in case you're confused of the type of income that we accept. Um, so hopefully that is, unless you had anything more to add to that. But it has to be taxable income.
If there's something that's not included in the guide, for example, would you recommend that individuals call customer service?
Yes, definitely. Yes. And the good thing about it is when you're in the application and you're stuck, it saves everything. Definitely reach out to customer service and we can explain to you whether or not the income you're entering is accurate. Yeah.
And if individuals would prefer to speak to someone in person, can you just remind us of other resources available besides customer service line?
And
Oh.
yeah, in addition to customer service, we also have our CACs and our navigators, who are kind of the experts in the whole application process, and they're located at hospitals and community health centers. You would have to call them directly to make an appointment with them, and they can help you one-on-one. They can help you over the phone or however you choose.
And Nuri, can I come back and just confirm something? So I drifted off when I was talking about the FPL levels. I just wanted to reconfirm. So we're in plan year 2026. The Health Connector uses the 2025 FPL guidelines. So next year, when we're looking at 2027 coverage, we're actually utilizing the 2026 FPL guidelines. There is more to it, but essentially it's because we're like projecting income. We have to, essentially look back on what someone has made in terms of income. So I hope that's helpful. But know that we don't change. Yeah. I hope that's helpful. I was going to provide a link to a document, but we will make sure we provide it in the follow-up email that will include several resources as well as a link to this recording, links to our website, etc.
And I also see some questions asking about specific things that you should report as income. I think a good rule of thumb is if it is taxable, if you would include it in your tax returns, you should include it in your health insurance application as well. So some things might not be mentioned in the guide or on our webpage. Um, but if it is taxable, it should be included.
You guys discussed advanced premium tax credits. Can someone explain why someone might not want to utilize the full credit that they are eligible for?
I can take this. Anyone feel free to jump in. So someone might choose to not take the full tax credits that they are eligible for if they believe that their income will fluctuate throughout the year. Because if you don't keep your application up to date, it might be that you might owe money to the IRS at the end of the year because you might be receiving more tax credits than you were eligible for. I hope that was clear. Tax credits are a hard thing to explain.
Is the only way to cancel a Health Connector plan by calling customer service? Are we aware of any other options for doing so?
That is the only way to cancel your coverage, yes. Just to make sure that you're not being billed for the following. Some people may be on auto pay or so definitely call us, let us know so that we can make those changes and everything remains accurate in your account if you want to cancel.
Okay, and I'm still seeing a couple questions regarding income. Just want to emphasize again, if it is taxable, it should be reported on the application. If it is not, it does not need to be included. Sorry, I'm just reading through these as well. I'm not sure if you guys want to take one in any part. Yep, go ahead, Nikki.
No, me too, me too. I was reading through as well to see, was the question about a payment refund addressed? No. Okay, so I guess it's just worth noting that yes, we do, if someone is owed a payment refund for coverage, if they cancel their coverage, yes, they will get it, in certain instances, of course, get refunded their payment. I don't want to make a broad statement, but if somebody is essentially paying for coverage, I'm just trying to think of how else to frame this so it's a little bit more specific for everybody. Um, I would say the rule of thumb is to call by the 23rd of the month because that is our enrollment effective date for the first of the following month. If for some reason this particular person was asking about calling on the 31st of the month, I would call customer service, or we can also provide a link to refund policy in the follow-up email. But I'd say good rule of thumb is to do, if you need a refund and you're canceling coverage, call before the enrollment deadline, which is the 23rd of each month.
Okay, and I'm seeing a question here about taxable income. When we say taxable income, are we referring to federal tax or mass state tax? Great question.
Both. Certainly both.
And I'm seeing go ahead,
I'll
Nikki.
let you go. No, no, I'll let you go. I'll let you
No,
go.
I was just going to say I'm seeing a very specific scenario in the Q&A. Not sure if we're able to address any of that live now during this webinar or if this individual should follow up with the customer service. Go ahead.
Yes, there's a very specific scenario about what's called a WARN notice. I won't get into that other than the individual may know that they are losing coverage at a certain date. If you know that your employer-sponsored insurance is ending you can apply for coverage in advance of that coverage ending. Melissa, I might ask you just to confirm whether or not, like when I'm in the application, if I know my ESI is ending, is there an opportunity for me to include my end date?
Yes, there is.
Okay, so someone could, in fact, start an application early, and that might be the best bet. But as Nuri said, you can call customer service, or if you're in a situation you're planning ahead, as this individual seems like it could get, there's a lot of nuance in what they're asking. You can also reach out to a local navigator, make an appointment and essentially have one-on-one conversation either in person or over the phone. And that might be your best bet for like planning ahead and having a plan and somebody that can assist you and also do some things on your behalf if you are not here or able to. Does that make sense? Perhaps I need to explain what I mean by that, right? The NDF. So when a person is seeking support from a navigator, they complete what's known as a navigator designation form. And it basically is like an authorization form, an agreement between you and that navigator and their organization. So this navigator and the other team members at that location can help you do all kinds of things that Melissa, Thalia, and Nuri, we've been talking about this afternoon. And that navigator can complete the application. And then if you call and say, okay, it happened, my employer-sponsored insurance is actually ending earlier, or it happened and my employer-sponsored insurance is ending later. This is good news. Could you go into my application and update it on my behalf? And that navigator is able to do that because you've given them that right to do that, but only as directed by you. So those are the rules. They can only make changes or call. And if you needed additional support with enrollment or additional support with the billing question, they can help you work that out. So hopefully that's helpful.
And before we move on to the next question, I just wanted to elaborate on type of income since it was a reoccurring question. I just wanted to give some examples of what that would be. In the application, you do have a list that you can refer to, but the examples would be employment wages, self-employment income, unemployment benefits, Social Security benefits, pension or retirement income, interest and dividends, capital gains, rental income, alimony, and other taxable income reported on the person's federal tax return. So hopefully those examples are helpful to you. And they're also listed in the application.
Thank you, Melissa. I think that's very helpful for individuals. Someone is asking about there is no coverage offered at all for vision.
So we did say earlier in the presentation that we do not offer like a standalone vision plan to purchase separately on our platform, like we do dental, but some of the health insurance plans do have limited vision benefits, and you should contact the carrier directly to figure out what exactly is covered when it comes to your vision benefits.
Alrighty. Looks like we've gotten through all of the questions. And then just a reminder to folks, if you could please stay on for a very short survey to help inform our future sessions. But we do thank you all for joining our session today, for listening to this information. As a reminder, we will be sharing materials with you shortly after. So please stay on for the survey. Thank you all.